For my industry screencast, I've chosen to talk about the advertising industry. So, what exactly is advertising? So, advertising is when companies create advertising campaigns, implement public relations campaigns, and engage in media buying from other advertising services. So, they basically do two main activities. They develop ads for a variety of media, and then they do what they can to place those ads within different media outlets. So they're part of the decision making of then where that advertisement that they made goes. And some major companies that do advertising are Dentsu, Interpublic, Omnicom, Publicis, WPP, Accenture, IBM, and PwC. So some key skills, competencies, and qualities required for advertising are first analytical skills. So analytical skills are essential because managers must be able to analyze industry trends to determine the most promising strategies for their organization. And then communication skills are essential because advertisers need to be able to communicate with a broad variety of people. They need to be able to communicate with the client, but also the people that they're collaborating with. And then, in my opinion, creativity is one of the most essential qualities in advertisement because advertisers need to be able to generate new and imaginative ideas. And then next, decision-making skills are really important because the advertising industry is really competitive, and um, in order to compete with other advertisers, they need to be able to make decisions and stick to those decisions. And then interpersonal skills are really important because it's a really collaborative job and you have to be able to get other people's opinions and kind of just speak with a bunch of different people and connect with them. And then organizational skills are essential because advertisers need to analyze industry trends to determine the most promising strategies for their organizations. So the advertising industry is definitely one that is changing and developing. So a large part of this is technological developments. So there is more use of digital platforms to reach a bigger audience share. So this share is supposed to reach about 45% by 2019. So this is pretty crazy because just a few years ago, we didn't have any sort of form of digital platforms. We had only paper forms of advertisement and in print forms of advertisement, but now we have almost half of our advertisements are on digital platforms. So also the advertising industry is changing because of online streaming. So there's a bunch of ads that go into streaming like Hulu and YouTube. So that's changing the industry. And then there's also a really large emphasis on mobile advertising. So mobile advertising has become a main driver of the global advertising growth. And then finally, there's new audience measurement tools that verify how effectively ads are reaching consumers. So this allows advertisers to just make their advertisements even better and more relevant, just have a better effect on users. So next, globalization. So global sales are huge. They're at 550 billion per year. And so then with globalization, there are holding companies. So holding companies control a bunch of different agency brands around the world. So they basically just make sure that globally advertising is connected and just staying up and is growing as it is at this rate. And so then demographic changes are also a really big part of the change in the advertising industry. So there's some risks that have developed in developed and emerging markets. So some risks in developed markets are that laws and currency fluctuations can negatively impact advertising operations. And then in emerging markets, they really have to make sure they're addressing cultural differences as the industry is changing. And so then finally, employment outlook. So employment is projected to grow 10% from 2016 to 2026, which is faster than the average for all occupations. So we can see how rapidly the advertising industry is changing. And then this is because advertising companies will continue to be even more essential as media and social media becomes more prevalent in our world. And then finally, some tools for learning about the advertising industry. There's the American Marketing Association, which has a website with a specific section on advertising, and they talk about events, articles, and resources for that. And then there's also, you can just look at your social media and look how advertising is portrayed on that. And there's also a bunch of social media tools that talk about how advertisements are filtered to your social media. And then it's also important when you're thinking about learning about the advertising industry to just step back and look around and think about what advertisements are effective for you and kind of what you gravitate towards. And then that's kind of what the advertising industry is built around. It's definitely a user-based industry, and it's based off what people think and people's opinions. So here are some references, and that is the advertising industry.